The old house sighed as the sun dipped below the horizon. Its weathered facade, a testament to years gone by, seemed to exhale a breath of relief as the day gave way to twilight. The sky, painted in hues of orange and purple, cast a gentle glow on the house, making it appear almost ethereal in the fading light. Shadows stretched across the worn floorboards, reaching out like long, skeletal fingers. They crept slowly, inching their way across the room as if they had a life of their own. The interplay of light and dark created an eerie dance, a silent performance that spoke of the mysteries hidden within the house's walls. Dust motes danced in the fading light, a silent ballet illuminated by the dying embers in the fireplace. Each particle seemed to move with purpose, swirling and twirling in the gentle currents of air. The fireplace, once a source of warmth and comfort, now held only the remnants of a fire, its embers glowing faintly like the last vestiges of a forgotten memory. The air, thick with the scent of old books and furniture polish, grew heavy, pregnant with the anticipation of night. The library, with its towering shelves and antique furniture, seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the darkness to fully envelop it. Each piece of furniture, each book, had its own story to tell, stories that would come alive in the quiet solitude of the night. The grandfather clock in the corner, its brass face gleaming faintly in the gloom, chimed 7 times, each resonant clang a hammer blow against the fragile peace of the approaching darkness. The sound echoed through the house, a reminder of the relentless march of time. With each chime, the house seemed to sink deeper into the embrace of night, its secrets and stories becoming more pronounced in the absence of daylight. Outside, the wind began to rise, whispering through the ancient oaks that stood sentinel around the house. The trees, with their gnarled branches and thick trunks, swayed gently in the breeze, their leaves rustling like whispers in the dark. The wind carried with it the scent of the earth, a reminder of the world beyond the house's walls, a world that was both familiar and unknown. It was a lonely symphony, a mournful dirge that heralded the coming night. The wind's song, a blend of melancholy and mystery, seemed to echo the house's own sense of solitude. As the night deepened, the house and its surroundings became a part of the twilight's embrace, a world where time stood still and the past and present intertwined in a delicate dance. Sarah curled deeper into the plush armchair, feeling the soft fabric envelop her like a warm hug. The room was dimly lit, casting gentle shadows that danced on the walls, creating an atmosphere of serene solitude. A well-worn paperback lay forgotten in her lap, its pages slightly crumpled from years of being read and reread. The story within it was one she knew by heart, a tale of adventure and love that had always brought her comfort. The silence, broken only by the crackling fire and the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock, wasn't unsettling, not really. It was a symphony of stillness, each sound a note in a melody that spoke of time's gentle passage. It was oddly comforting, a familiar embrace in the old house she'd inherited from her grandmother. The walls, adorned with memories and echoes of laughter, seemed to whisper stories of the past, stories that Sarah had grown up hearing. She took a slow sip of her tea, the warm liquid a soothing balm against the slight chill that had settled in the room. The aroma of chamomile filled the air, mingling with the scent of old books and polished wood, creating a cocoon of tranquility. The house creaked around her, a comforting lullaby that spoke of age and resilience. Each creak and groan was a testament to the house's enduring presence, a reminder of the generations it had sheltered. For the first time since her grandmother's passing, Sarah felt truly at peace. The weight of grief that had settled on her shoulders seemed to lift, replaced by a gentle acceptance and a sense of belonging. Little did she know, this peace was an ephemeral illusion, soon to be shattered. The shadows that danced so gracefully on the walls would soon take on a more sinister form, and the comforting creaks of the house would become harbingers of an unsettling presence. But for now, in this moment of solitude, Sarah allowed herself to believe in the peace, to embrace the calm before the storm. A noise, faint and indistinct, pricked through the quiet. It was barely there, like a distant memory trying to resurface, but it was enough to break the stillness of the night. Sarah lifted her head, listening intently. Her senses were heightened, every nerve on edge as she tried to pinpoint the source of the sound. It came again, a soft, sibilant whisper, like someone murmuring just beyond the edge of hearing. It was almost as if the walls themselves were trying to communicate, their secrets seeping through the cracks. She frowned, attributing it to the wind playing tricks on her nerves. The old house was known for its creaks and groans, especially on nights like this when the wind howled through the trees outside. She returned to her book, but the words swam before her eyes. The story she had been so engrossed in just moments before now seemed distant and unimportant. The whisper came again, insistent now, weaving its way into the silence. It was as if it was calling to her, demanding her attention, refusing to be ignored. Her gaze drifted towards the old radio on the side table, a relic from a bygone era. It had been a gift from her grandmother, a piece of history that had always fascinated her. It wasn't on, was it? She hadn't touched it in years, yet there it was, seemingly alive with a life of its own. Yet, a low static crackled from its speaker, punctuated by those unsettling whispers. The sound was both familiar and foreign, like a forgotten song that lingered at the edge of her memory. She felt a chill run down her spine as she realized that the whispers were forming words that seemed to be calling her name. Unease coiled in Sarah's stomach, a cold, slithering sensation. She rose from the armchair, her gaze darting to the darkened corners of the room. The shadows seemed to deepen, to writhe and contort as if imbued with a life of their own. She took a hesitant step towards the radio, her hand outstretched. The whispers intensified, becoming clearer, though she couldn't make out the words. A floorboard creaked upstairs, the sound sharp and clear in the stillness. Her heart pounded against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat urging her to run. Section 5. The face in the window. Panic seized her. She whirled around, her gaze sweeping across the room, searching for the source of the whispers, the footsteps. And then she saw it. A face, pale and gaunt, staring in from the window. It was a man's face, twisted in a grotesque grimace, his eyes wide and unblinking. He pressed closer to the glass, his breath fogging the pane, his ragged breathing audible even through the window. Sarah stumbled back, a scream rising in her throat, but the words died before they could escape. Terror rooted her to the spot, her limbs heavy and unresponsive. The face at the window vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The whispers ceased. The static from the radio died down, leaving behind an eerie silence that was more terrifying than any sound. She stood there for what felt like an eternity, her breath catching in her throat, her heart pounding against her ribs. The shadows in the room seemed to press closer, suffocating her, mocking her fear. She was alone, utterly alone in the old house with something unknown and terrifying. Sarah forced herself to move, her legs shaky beneath her. She had to get out, to call for help, but as she reached for her phone, a floorboard creaked behind her. She spun around, her blood turning to ice. The hallway leading to the front door was cloaked in darkness, the shadows stretching and twisting like grasping claws. It felt like a physical presence, barring her escape. A cold draft snaked through the house, carrying with it the faint scent of decay and the echo of a whisper, "Don't leave." She was trapped, a prisoner in her own home. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves against the windows sent shivers down her spine. She knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that she was not alone. Sarah huddled in the corner, her back pressed against the wall, her eyes darting around the room, searching for any sign of movement. The grandfather clock chimed midnight, each clang a death knell to her dwindling hope. The house was alive now, filled with unseen eyes and unheard whispers. The night crawled by, each minute an agonizing eternity. Dawn, when it finally came, brought with it a fragile sense of relief. But the fear remained, a cold knot of dread in the pit of her stomach. Sarah didn't need to turn around to know that the feeling of being watched hadn't gone away. It lingered, a palpable presence that clung to her like a shroud. The silent watcher was still out there, hidden in the shadows, waiting for the sun to set once more.